This is CityCast Twin Cities. I'm Sean McPherson, and here's what the cities are talking about. Today is not this day for either of you beautiful people, but what is the worst haircut you've ever gotten? Let's start with Denzel.
Every haircut I got that my mom took me to, because I used to rock a very low fade and I always wanted to grow out my hair. And look at me now.
Ooh.
Would your mom have permitted dreadlocks growing up, or was it like the low fade was the one option available to you?
Low fade was the one option available to me.
Anna, give me your low fade history or your worst haircut of all time.
Okay. First off, I have a visual aid.
See what we got here?
Oh, sweet Jesus. That is, had I gotten that haircut, that'd be the worst haircut I've ever gotten. That is, did you pay money for the barber student who did that?
So much money. Look at my attempt with a bow. I tried putting a bow in to help and it didn't. And she was so mean to me. After she did it, I said, wow, I really feel like I look like a mom or a Karen. And you know what she said? You did when you walked in and you don't now. And I said, Thank you. And then I went and got another haircut somewhere else.
If I were to describe this,
yes.
It's somehow only volume and frizz. It's flat. This person clearly had a vendetta against you because they said, you know what? This person shouldn't enjoy their hair today. And they accomplished that vindictive goal.
It is somehow a mullet and a short mom cut and a shoebox. It's a shoebox with a bow. Thanks, John. Thanks for this question.
If you're looking for the photo of Anna's horrible haircut, you can find it on Instagram, but you have to make sure you have the 13 and over thing turned on because we don't want kids to see that. It is not a good look. Today, we're going to share our thoughts on Purple Rain, the musical. We'll also hear from writer James Norden from Heavy Table about a treasured Minnesota institution that's been reanimated, and we'll celebrate some Twin Cities wins. I'm joined by contributor Denzel Beelan and executive producer Anna Weigel. Denzel, thank you for being with us.
So happy to be here, Sean.
And hello, Anna. So good to see you and not the haircut we just saw you in.
Hi, same. I'm so glad to be here and not the haircut you just saw me in.
Dearly beloved, we gathered Wednesday night at the State Theater together to get through this thing called the Purple Rain musical. And this is after 3 weeks of previews. Purple Rain had its debut, and this play of Purple Rain, originally a movie and now a musical, has been in the works for over a half decade, and it features some heavy hitters from the theater world as well as some relative newcomers. Some big names include playwright Brandon Jacob Jenkins, who won a Pulitzer Prize, producer Oren Wolf, and Tony-nominated Liliana Blaine Cruz, who staged the show. Now, all of us have seen the show. On Wednesday night, Anna and I went to the first non-preview showing. And Denzel, do I understand that you went to one of the previews?
I did. About a week beforehand, I went to a preview.
All right. Well, I want to get some quick answers from y'all about your experience of seeing this musical, and that way we can kind of figure out how we collectively felt about it. Let me start with Anna. What did you think was the best song performance?
Oh, beautiful ones. It was the closing of the first act, and the kid, the main character, the sort of prince type character, he was writhing on the ground. You know that part where he goes, do you want him or do you want me? Because I want you. It almost got a standing ovation in the middle of the play. It was so incredible. I was like crying.
I should point out that the middle of the play was about 2 hours into the play. Denzel, what was your favorite song performance from Purple Rain, the musical?
Nasty Girl. Oh. I love that song so much, and I was so delighted to see it. And it featured Apollonia, who I adored in this showing. One of my favorite songs that Prince wrote.
Oh.
Let's move over to worst song performance. Denzel, what do you think was just the nadir of the song performances in the show?
Anytime there was a weird, sexy dream ballet that wasn't as sexy as you wanted it, but way more ballet than I think I wanted, just took me out of it. Beautiful singing all around, but there were some really hot people who weren't quite getting as hot as I wanted them to, but sure giving me full ballet.
Yeah, every time there was a sex scene, more and more people came onto the stage to have dance sex. And I was like, who are these people? Is this a menage? I don't know what's happening.
The longest sex ballet moment was on Electric Intercourse, which is like a B-side. It wasn't even on Purple Rain when it was released. It only came out with the deluxe reissue a handful of years ago. And in a show with a lot of head scratchers, that was one of the big head scratchers. I was really unimpressed with how they used When Doves Cry, which is Prince's biggest hit, highest charting hit, and the most significant tune from the album. You might say Purple Rain is, it's the title track, but when you're talking about sort of song notoriety, that's the high watermark. It opened the second half of the show, and it was sort of done up in a, like, I'm writing the song as I go away, and I was like, this is an opportunity to tear the house down, to get another standing ovation. And I thought they totally blew it on that.
Yeah.
Best actor to you, Anna. Who do you think was the best actor?
Jared Howlton, who played Morris. I didn't always like what the character was saying. I'll talk more about this, but he was a really talented comedic actor, and he really gave it like 400%.
Morris was a standout, but also the actor who played Jill, I believe, the waitress.
Yeah.
What a delight.
Totally.
Happens really close to the beginning of the show and got me really hopeful for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
I feel like this show suffered from too many cooks in the kitchen, no matter how good each individual cook was. And did either of you get that feeling, like watching the show, like you just go, this is no one's singular vision of how to put Purple Rain on stage?
I absolutely felt that way. It felt like there was a lot of people who were like, you need to accomplish this, you need to accomplish that. And as someone who has written scripts, like, based off of feedback, it can get tricky. And it was clear that wasn't just one person's point of view to the playwright and book writer. It felt like at least 8 or 10 people who were trying to, for lack of a better term, fix the movie into a musical. And I think it suffered because they were trying to fix, quote unquote, so many problems.
I was actually thinking about you a lot when I was watching the show, Denzel, and our friend Tane Danger, too, because the type of comedy that you do at the Brave New Workshop and that you guys do at the Theater of Public Policy is like really top of the intelligence. It's like, you're doing comedy about politics. You're doing comedy about social issues. You pour over these scripts and they go through draft after draft after draft at the workshop. And we were sitting right behind your director, Caleb McEwen, too, at Purple Rain. But this show was so incredibly broad. And we were at opening night. People were in ball gowns and tuxedos. They were ready to have a good time. And so some of the jokes that were the most broad, for example, when the kid is visited by one of his bandmates who's checking up on him, he's just about to leave the room. And then he says, and take a shower. And everyone bursts out laughing like it was the funniest thing. That is broad comedy. And sadly, I see a lot of touring Broadway shows come through town, and they're like that. And, you know, local references that make people scream and laugh. But would Prince have liked that? No! One of the most special things that's ever happened to Minnesota is Prince. He was so unique, and he was so above this sort of like make anyone laugh, lowest common denominator. And I just kept seeing it over and over and over in the show and being really frustrated by that.
There's a very unique dance that Purple Rain is a movie with a lot of laughable moments. And it's also a movie with a lot of moments where you go, that didn't age well. And also that wasn't really that on the nose in 1984 when it came out. And somehow it all got worse. One of the things that enthused me about this show and then also bothered me is that I feel like they rightfully addressed a lot of the misogyny in the show, not only by excising it, but sometimes flipping it. Instead of Morris Day throwing a woman into a garbage can, you have him singing out of a garbage can. And there's some of these statements of like, we're going to approach these things differently. But they also kind of kid-gloved the domestic violence that's at the center of the actual heart of the movie, and made it like they made his father a much more likable character, and he was only committing acts of violence on film. I don't know. It just seemed to be a really strange modification of some of the highs and lows of the movie.
Yeah, the ping-ponging between seeing scenes of domestic violence and then seeing the father figure as a hero was staggering. I couldn't handle it. And the treatment of women overall in the show was very frustrating to see. The amount of times women were called bitches, not in serious moments, but in comedy moments. And then I would hear the audience bursting out laughing. I feel like put all of womankind back hundreds of years. And Apollonia's big ending, her big success story was that she does a screen test for a dating show and gets treated poorly in that screen test. That was her big ending. And it was just very sad.
And I think that ending would have landed had they not tried to, for lack of a better term, sanitize other parts of the show. If it were a completely sort of like messy story about fame and how it affects people and everything, I think it really would have stuck the landing. And in fact, that scene felt very much within the world of Brandon Jacob Jenkins' work as I know it, where it sort of is a brutal mirror up to society. But there were so many other moments where I was like, it didn't quite, for me, feel like him in that. And it didn't feel like it was serving the musical for no other reason than to, what happens if we tour this to Dubuque, Iowa? How will they respond? Overall, I feel like there was so much talent that came together to make this show happen. And I don't think that this product properly showcases everyone to their 100%. I would say probably everyone was cranking at their 60%, 70%, and therefore that's where the show kind of landed. I think Chris Collins, as the kid, is a fantastic singer and a fantastic dancer, which was a real delight to see. But I feel like the acting responsibility from the show may have been just a little out of his realm as the show was written. And I feel like for the actor who played Morris was one of the people who fully got to shine. But I think there's something that felt restrained about this whole product for me.
They hid Prince's acting shortcomings in the movie, and they did not hide Chris Collins's acting shortcomings in the play, and they might have been served to. We do want to hear from you. Have you seen Purple Rain? Do you plan to see Purple Rain? Send us a text or leave us a voicemail on the CityCast Twin Cities hotline, 612-217-0637. We have a lot more news to discuss, some of it involving fried ice cream. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break. We are now joined by James Norton of Heavy Table. He's going to tell us about a story that he recently wrote. First off, James, welcome to CityCast Twin Cities. It's an honor to have you.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Second off, James, you were raised in Madison, Wisconsin. And when you were just a little tyke in Madison, what restaurant did you most frequently ask your parents to bring you to?
I think we had 3 restaurants total that we went to. And I would say probably Paisan's Italian restaurant was the one that we ended up at the most. That was down on campus. Pretty good. Got the seashells and meat sauce, chocolate nemesis for dessert. Still miss it.
Denzel, you were raised out in Seattle. What restaurant did you ask to go to most frequently with your family?
That would be the Sizzler. They had a killer salad bar that had chicken wings in the salad bar. So I would mostly eat chicken wings with the occasional cucumber.
Chi-Chi's was one of my favorite restaurants growing up, and now it's being resurrected. The one I went to back in the day was in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and I'm sure they had other food, but all I was thinking about was fried ice cream. And now all I'm thinking about is fried ice cream because Chi-Chi's is back. They've gone past their bout of hepatitis A in 2003 and their bankruptcy in 2003. So, James, how was the food, and do you have hepatitis A?
Not that the tests have indicated. I'll answer the second question first. The Chi-Chi's 2.0, I never went to Chi-Chi's 1.0, so I don't have like a clean slate for comparison. Chi-Chi's 2.0 was almost disturbingly adult and buttoned down and serious. I don't know if you've seen Demolition Man, that classic film. Sylvester Stallone goes into the future. All restaurants are Taco Bell. So they go to Taco Bell, and it's like this incredibly shishi place with a piano player and a martini bar. It kind of felt like that, where I was walking in expecting something kind of, maybe a little bit trashy that aims at entendre. So that would kind of fit the picture. But it felt like, Kaluna on Lyndale Avenue, where it was just like Very tasteful decor, very professional wait staff. Food execution was seriously solid. My one culinary complaint, they did a quesadilla tacos. I wanted them to be greasier, saltier, kind of like louder and bigger, but like the other food we got was great. The chips are great. The nachos are great. The chimichanga was great. And the fried ice cream, it just crushed. It killed.
There was one Chi-Chi's that held on in Richfield for a while, and it held on by, I'm sure that's where the hepatitis A started. Like it was not its best self by the time I got there. It was a fantastic thing in childhood. And James, you bring fancy food words to the stuff you talk about. And I like, there's something that feels weird about being like a culinary complaint, because I'm like, it's nachos, it's chimichangas. But you talk about the fact that it's not Taco Bell. It's not like low grade food, but you think this food stands up and deserves some fancy food words in the review. Is that right?
I absolutely do. I think they're really working hard to present quality food there. It isn't necessarily what I was keyed up to expect, but I think you can do a really good food that speaks for itself, kind of at any genre and at any price point. And Chi-Chi's 2.0, older audience than I thought, more serious menu than I thought it would be. But they are really concerned about like balance. They're using fresh ingredients. Stuff is house made. I was impressed. I went loaded for bear, ready to make fun of this attempt to resurrect a questionable chain from the past. And I came out actually having had quite a pleasant meal.
Now, James, I'm curious. Do you feel like this resurrection of Chi-Chi's is to bring in sort of like all walks of people, like we're tapping into like a Gen Z culture and everything? Or is this an attempt to sort of capture on the nostalgia that folks crave and seem to just foam at the mouth of, and they're meeting those people who grew up with Chi-Chi at their older place with a maybe more refined palate?
I think the second is absolutely right on the money. I think that you don't resurrect that brand unless you're trying to cash in on the nostalgia, which is powerful. Reservations are actually hard to get, which again kind of surprised me. But for some reason, it keeps coming back to this fried ice cream. And I have to say, like, frying food is a tricky endeavor. You can do it poorly. These guys did a great job. The exterior of the ice cream was chewy. It had like almost like a cornflake crunchiness to it. The ice cream was rich and cinnamon kicked. The whole thing was really, really well done. So I think they're trying to say, oh, you remember Chi-Chi's? We're bringing it to you in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s. It's all dressed up. It's ready for you, and you're going to have a great meal. And it was impressive.
It's the architecture of the fried ice cream. I suffered for a decade plus only being able to get fried ice cream at Little Tijuana's, where you still, and now you can't even do that, but you still had some good tastes. But James, the architecture of Chi-Chi's fried ice cream meant that even if you were like a 7-year-old hungry ass kid, such as myself, it felt like it all remained sort of cohesive even as you started attacking it from the ground floor. And I don't know, it truly is the best fried ice cream I've ever had. I don't imagine you've had a ton of fried ice cream in your life, but does this rank relatively high in like best fried ice cream desserts you've had?
So I actually order it whenever I get a chance, because I've had some just terrible fried ice cream over the years, and that to me is really funny, and I like having food experiences that go off the rails. I would say this is the best I had. It really made sense as a unit. The relationship with the exterior and interior made sense to me. The flavors were big without being overpowering. I swear the maraschino cherry was tastier than they usually are. I had actual cherry flavor, shocking, bizarre, but fantastic. So I think they crushed it.
James, in your work at the Heavy Table, would you be able to campaign to have every restaurant give free chips? It seems like such a win, and I can't imagine it's that expensive. They're doing free chips at Chi-Chi's. Why don't you think this is on every table in the Twin Cities?
Sean, you make a seriously excellent point, which is I think when you sit down and the free chips and the salsa hit the table, that says hospitality. And at like a certain checkpoint, if you're paying $30, $40, $50, $60 a head to dine somewhere, a little bit of welcome in, we're so glad to see you, here's something a little just to nibble on and to get started with, is like a really smart move. It puts a smile on the faces of your guests. Heck yeah, more free chips. I'm all for it. And the free chips at Chi-Chi's are pretty good. They're really like light and delicate, and the salsa clearly they're making in a house. Yeah, thumbs up. Let's do it everywhere.
Describe that salsa, because salsa is a make or break for me. A chip tends to just always be good, but Give me the lowdown on that.
So the salsa had, I would say, it was fairly mild. It was low heat. It wasn't an intense salsa, but it had a fair bit of flavor. It was properly seasoned. The salt was there. There was some other stuff, cumin, oregano going on. Fairly fine chop, so it would stick on your chip in a pretty even layer. Yeah, I dug it. I thought it was absolutely solid.
Very Minnesotan. Very.
It was very Minnesotan. Yes.
Like an upscale Minnesotan salsa. I can get behind that. I might ask for a little Cholula to put on it, but I will get behind it.
Yeah, they had Cholula that was available for the asking, so I think that'd be a clutch move.
I've never had a free chip at Kaluna. I'd just like to point out, I've spent a pretty penny there. They have never gone and here's a bowl of tortilla chips, Sean. So just pointing that out. Listeners, we do want to know what you think of Chi-Chi's 2.0. We also want you to invite me when you go. So send us a text, 612-217-0637. You can also leave us a voicemail. We'll be back in just a minute. We love to hear some good news here in the cities, especially on a Friday. So we're going to get into some Twin Cities wins. James Norton of Heavy Table, what are you celebrating?
I saw a legitimately uplifting story in the Star Tribune by a writer named Cole Reynolds about Milton's restaurant out in Crystal. And this was a restaurant that was poised to close. Things hadn't been going great. They have another restaurant that's going a little better. It was going to kind of wrap up its time in the community. And basically, people in Crystal came forward and said, this is not happening. This place is too important to us. These relationships mean too much to us. They crowdfunded. They put together $20,000, and the ownership of the restaurant, this woman Fran Weber, who runs it, was so moved and financially assisted. She said, "Okay, we're going to keep this going. We're going to keep doing Milton's."
And they have a jerk chicken recipe that you're looking forward to checking out?
Yeah, I have not been personally. I checked the menu out. It seems like they do serious jerk chicken. That's one of my favorite things to eat. So I'm going to get out there, certainly in the next couple months and check out the scene.
Let's stay in the food category. Denzel, what is your win for today?
I also have a restaurant win. So this was covered in the Minnesota Star Tribune by Joy Summers. The herbivorous butcher is rising from the ashes. Get it? I don't know if that joke works because a fire had started in their store back in May, and they've been keeping afloat through pop-ups and crowdfunding, and they are coming back this month to open up their restaurant, which is super exciting. The store is stocked and ready. They have a turkey-free Thanksgiving meal, so all of your vegan delights. And honestly, I think they had such a strong showing at the Minnesota State Fair. They had a vegan, chicken fried bacon that was honestly, they're really doing it at a top tier where I feel like I, with my Southern roots from my parents, can enjoy a meal with a vegan, which I never thought would happen. So I'm super excited for them, and I can't wait to really see them back in the swing of things and take my vegan friends there and be like, see, I do care about you more than just giving you a handful of carrots.
We're going to leave the world of restaurants, but not the world of food. And this one comes from the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder, and it's my win for the day. I got a statistic from Adam, our producer, a couple days ago, that 1 in 13 Minnesotans receives some level of SNAP benefits, and his SNAP benefits are hanging in limbo at the moment. I sort of keep on just counting up to 13 with all the people I see, and I think there are folks who are struggling to put food on the table tonight, and that is the most urgent need because it is one of the most basic necessities of life to get fed, and it breaks my heart that that's not happening for so many people. But when someone is struggling with food that doesn't get rid of their need for art and for enjoyment, for de facto childcare, and a lot of that comes from places like the Minnesota Children's Museum, who is stepping up and offering free admission for families who do receive SNAP benefits. And the Children's Museum has been a godsend for me and my children. It's been a place where I get to see them play. I feel comfortable letting them explore on their own. Every once in a while, I have the absolute headache of being roped into being part of the mailroom, and I start yelling at a 4-year-old I don't know and be like, "There's packages coming, Jimmy, get your shit together." And I feel bad about that, but I also I'm glad to be doing it and being with my kids in this sort of fun experience. And I also want to give a shout out to a friend who is on staff over at the Minnesota Children's Museum, Drea Tolson, who's been doing some great work programming musicians and bringing in great artists, but also making this accessible. So it's a big win that we're doing something for these families that are losing SNAP benefits at the moment, but can still enjoy the Children's Museum. James and Denzel, I certainly needed a dose of good news and a dose of tortilla chip conversation, so thank you for all of that as we head into the weekend.
Thanks for having me.
You're always my dose of good news, Sean.
Thank you, Denzel. Before we wrap up, we have a special segment from our partners at Xcel Energy. Anna, have you ever been driving up Franklin from the West Bank, and when you hit the Phillips neighborhood, you see a beautiful building right on your right?
Yes, what is that?
It's the American Indian Center, and this spot has been a fixture for like 50 plus years.
And with it being Native American Heritage Month, Xcel Energy is putting the spotlight on the Minneapolis American Indian Center.
So this center is one of the first urban American Indian centers in the country. It actually serves members from more than 40 different tribes. And as a person who's been driving past this place for 25 years, I can only describe it as bustling. Sometimes there's organizations that say they're serving the community, and you drive past and you go, I don't see anybody inside. I don't see anybody in the parking lot. I don't see any bikes out there. It's never that way with this spot, the Minneapolis American Indian Center. It is bustling all throughout the week. It really shows you that they are doing the work.
And they've got free programs that keep cultural traditions alive. Ojibwe and Dakota language classes, youth programs, elder care, and job training.
And like I said, I've been driving past this place for a long time, but it's not static. They keep on adding to it. In fact, they just got through with a big renovation and expansion last year. That's going to let them keep serving the community for generations to come. And I got to say, the look of this place is magnificent.
Xcel Energy has been helping fund some of those programs that strengthen cultural connections, improve health, and help people get into living wage jobs.
And look, I don't know thing one about electricity besides for like plugging something in to give it power. But there's a really cool thing that's happening. The center is going to host one of 3 new microgrids, which is part of the Resilient Minneapolis project. And this is really great. It means that during power outages, critical services will keep running.
Join the 25,000 people who visit the center each year by stopping by during Native American Heritage Month.
And when you visit, there's a lot to do. You can experience Native culture firsthand by grabbing lunch at Gatherings Cafe, shopping Native-made goods at the Woodland Indian Craft Shop. You can also check out some great artwork at Two Rivers Gallery.
And if you want to stay in the loop, the center's got a newsletter with updates and volunteer opportunities, and we've got the link right in our show notes.
It's way too easy to drive past amazing things in the Twin Cities and not take the moment to notice it, to appreciate it, and to visit. This month is the perfect opportunity to slow down and cherish the great organizations doing the work in our communities.
It really is.
That's all for today here on CityCast Twin Cities, and we want to say hi to our newest neighbor, Ethan J. Thanks so much, and welcome, Ethan. You can learn more about becoming a CityCast Twin Cities neighbor at twincities.citycast.fm. Our executive producer is Anna Weigel. Our creative producers are Adam Sage and Tiffany Bowie. Post-production this week was done by Natalie Rivera, and our host is me, Sean McPherson. Our theme music is by Carl Christensen, and our mailbag theme music is by Adam Sage. You can get more news delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to the CityCast Twin Cities newsletter. If you enjoyed today's show, why not share this podcast with a cheat cheese enthusiast? We'll see you back here on Monday for more news from around the city.